We always predicted that beginning around this time of the summer, you were going to start to see bigger and better numbers, and here we are. I mean, I don't think it's like a light switch, but I think it's a really good start to the summer season.
And so my question is how good is this weekend relative to your expectations for it and the sort of stage we're at in terms of percentage capacity you're at? Was it as good as you could hope, given that we're still not quite back to 100%?
Well, you always hope for more. That's the nature of human existence. But it's about what we expected. I mean, because we're global, we're in 84 countries. We've seen countries come out of the pandemic. We've seen the pattern. It's gone a certain way in China and Japan and other places. And this is right on where we've seen it. I think the one issue faced in the U.S. is that a lot of the studios didn't release that many films over the summer. So it was disappointing that Maverick, which was set for July 4th, the Top Gun sequel, was moved out to Thanksgiving, and Bond was moved out of this period. So I do think it's a good start, but my expectation would be you really won't see blockbuster after blockbuster until you get to September, when things will really take hold. So it's not a safety issue or it's not a comfort issue. It's a content issue.
How far are we, Rich, from normal levels at the box office, or at least 2019 levels?
I think probably around the beginning of the fourth quarter. I think it'll bleed in from the third quarter. But the slate for the rest of the year is just fantastic. I mean, you have Dune, you have Bond, you have Maverick, which I just mentioned, you have Venom, you have Spider-Man. I mean, there's a whole lot of really great movies, and they're bunched 2 weeks apart. So it's one after another. One point I should make is that even though F9 had a great opening, it wasn't really a global opening. Remember, it opened in China about a month ago, and it opened in some other territories, and then it opened here. And your parent company, Universal, deserves a lot of credit because it was a unique release strategy. Everybody was sort of waiting. Let's wait in North America for the whole world to open up. And that wasn't going to happen in that way. So I think this is just a perfect proof point. Like I said, it's right on where we thought it would be. And I think this will follow a very predictable pattern whereby the fourth quarter will be back to 2019 numbers.
Why are we not at a stage, as you said, with that great roster of movies coming out where movie theaters are allowing kind of big pre-bookings months in advance? Is that something that you would have had in place in a normal year already? Is it going to be put in place? Is it worth doing?
Well, it's just being put in place now, Wilfred. The reason is that even though capacity limits started to open up in places like New York and California, which are the biggest movie markets, because of social distancing and other local regulations, you're really only at something like 50% until about a week or two ago. Now you're more or less close to 100%, 95%. So for F9, you didn't really see IMAX tickets go on sale until about a week or two before. So you're raising a very good point. So you couldn't do it that way. But I think now you'll start to see more advanced bookings. And in fact, for Disney's Black Widow, the tracking is extremely good. That opens July 9th in North America. The pre-sales are really good. And I think you'll see a continued expansion in people going and continued growth, and that being the next major blockbuster.
How many films have been pulled from releases, Richard, because of the prioritization right now of the streaming services? And how much ultimately do you expect that to hurt overall box office sales?
So, Sarah, I think moving those movies was a good solution when you were in the middle of the pandemic. So most of the big blockbusters, like the ones that I mentioned and others, including Jurassic World and Mission Impossible and, Avatar, all those things were moved. And I think it made sense if you had a big blockbuster to wait till everything was open and people were comfortable going and you could have global openings. But I think during the pandemic, it made sense to stream because that was the only thing you could do. Many theaters were closed in the world and there was limited capacity in the theaters that were open. So I think the studios did the right thing by playing their mid-level movies pretty much on streaming or a hybrid, and taking their blockbusters and moving them out. And really, it was almost all of them. And if you look at the hybrid results, I mean, they're what you would expect. It's not accidental that the biggest movies of this year, Quiet Place and F9, were movies that did not have a hybrid release and did not have a simultaneous home video release. And I think the market's going to continue to open up that way. Once we get through this period and F9 help demonstrate the potential, I think you'll see less movies, at least blockbusters, going at the same time, PVOD or streaming service, and more opening theatrically. And the world seems to be circling around a 45-day release window between when it opens in a theater and when it opens on streaming or PVOD.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.